Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Morning Meta. I am yours truly, Travis Spencer.
I'm Camilla Crawley.
All right, Camilla, it is Thursday. It's time for community conversations.
Yes, so we'll see what we'll talk about today, see what's coming up for you.
Mhm,
But we're going to start, as usual, with our grounding,
mhm.
setting an intention for the day, having a centering thought, and see what's on our minds for the conversation, and then come back with a call to action.
Sounds like a plan. All right, good people. So I'll lead us into our grounding practice. And the grounding practice is really just to support you in coming into the present moment. So today we're going to use sound. So I'm going to invite everyone to just sit in a comfortable position or wherever you are and whatever you're doing, coming to the present moment and begin to notice the sounds that you hear around you. All right. So maybe you hear sounds that are coming from inside the space that you're in, paying attention and noticing those. And maybe you hear sounds outside of the space, noticing those sounds. Inviting you to allow those sounds to support you just being present in this moment, right here and right now. All right. So let's do our intention.
Okay, so setting an intention is a mindfulness practice as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
because it's all about being purposeful in terms of your day. Really thinking about how is it that you want to show up? What are you wanting for yourselves? Or if there's something you want to focus on actually doing in this particular day. Take the time now to set an intention over the next 5 to 10 seconds. All right. As always, I like to give the reminder that this is a practice and do your best not to worry about how is this all going to happen or worry about, when. Just really do your best to focus on of the practice itself, I should say, of thinking about what you're wanting for this particular day. So, what's going on with our centering thought? You have anything for us today?
Oh, yeah. I have a wonderful, wonderful quote. And this quote is from Rumi. And for those who know Rumi, you know that he wrote some wonderful, wonderful poems. And I have just a quote from one of the poems that I want to share. And hopefully you'll feel it like I do. So the quote is: make peace with the universe, take joy in it. It will turn to gold. Resurrection will be now. Every moment, a new beauty. Of course, I'm going to read it again because it's nice. Make peace with the universe, take joy in it. It will turn to gold. Resurrection. Be will be now. Every moment, a new beauty. All right.
Yeah, that's really nice. Hmm. Well, I hope that there's something in that quote that can really connect with people or that
Mhm.
resonates. I think it's beautiful.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it also kind of makes me think about our community conversation that we had last week with Dr. Kevin Scott Sr. And a lot of the journey that he shared made me think about the themes as well. So this turning inward, beginning slowly and gradually, and again, oftentimes in a challenging space to become more and more self-aware of like
Mhm.
what's really going on with us in terms of what are we thinking, what are we feeling on the inside, and then what do our actions look like what does our behavior look like,
Mhm.
thinking about that in terms of that journey, but also the sharing that happened last week around beginning, like that quote said, beginning to really lean into the universe and what the universe is showing you,
Mhm.
like revealing to you, and taking those steps of following what the universe is showing you. And that story that was shared by Dr. Scott really made me think about the phoenix rising from the fire.
Mhm.
And I know you mentioned redemption. So just
Mhm.
like that quote is saying around, like, resurrection is now.
Yes,
I got
yes.
that visual of the phoenix coming out of the fire when I was listening to a lot of the journey and the story from Dr. Scott. And so often I do think that certain parts of the journey gets emphasized, like when we talk about this idea of accountability and things like that. And we've had this conversation before. Sometimes we get kind of focused on that and stuck there,
Mhm.
and then we don't necessarily always get to spend as much time on the redemption part or the
Mhm.
rising, the sort of rising out of the fire part. And so I think that quote made me think back to that, and it made me think back to the things, really turning inward, and how difficult, how challenging that can be,
Mhm.
to go into our other thing, which is the nurturing of growth, the acceptance, not the acceptance, but the grace and compassion pieces.
Mhm.
But we got all of that, I think, in that conversation last week, and it showed that it took time. It really took time to even get to the point where I can hold that mirror up to myself and accept what I'm seeing,
Mhm.
and even more time to get into the space of saying like, hey, it's okay, like I'm looking at this stuff in the mirror, I don't really like it, and knowing that it's all right, it's all
Mhm.
right. So those are all of the things that are coming up for me, just sparking off of that cool. Any thoughts?
No, I think what you shared is beautiful.
Mhm.
I think the healing journey. A lot of people, I believe, um, think that it's going to be all of a sudden one day. The things that you've dealt with, you're not going to deal with anymore. But that going through the fire that you spoke about, that phoenix rising, and what Dr. Scott spoke about last week is that there's a purification that happens
Mm.
when you go through the fire. And here's one of the things that I think is beautiful about that purification process, the healing process, because that's what I believe the purification process is. It is healing. So, what I've noticed in my own personal journey and with the individuals that I've worked with, that everything that they are dealing with and that I dealt with, I find that once I stepped on the healing journey, I had opportunities to heal in action, in circumstances, in choosing differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I we've we've spoken about how oftentimes when you're young and you're first faced with something, if you are not taught how to deal with it properly, then you create a maladaptive way to deal with it. And what happens is in childhood it may work because you're young, you're
Mm-hmm.
immature, you don't have the wisdom and experience. Um, but if you continue to use that maladaptive way, then when you become an adult, it does not
Mm-hmm.
work anymore. And then that shows up in the relationships that you're in, that shows up with the type of people that you associate with, the choices that you make, all of that begins to show up. But the beautiful piece about the healing process, it is that the universe allows for you to face each of those
Mm-hmm.
maladaptive behaviors, mindsets, attitudes, all of that, and begin to choose something different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, So, what Dr. Kevin Scott shared with us last week, and what I think you were alluding to um, when you were just speaking, was about this idea of being able to meet yourself where you are and grow and heal from that place.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I really like that you brought out um, that with healing, like with many things, sometimes it's romanticized, and in the sense of like, okay, I want to heal, and once I start, it's just going to be like a light switch, and everything is going to
Hmm.
instantly turn around, and that's not the process. To the point where I can relate to, and I'm sure that others can, like, even once you get on that journey, you could feel like maybe for 3 months, 6 months, you're like, oh, I'm going, I'm good, I'm
Hmm.
doing all these things.
Yes.
And then out of nowhere, 6 months down the line, 9 months down the line,
Hmm.
some experience happens that may have nothing to do with what you
Hmm.
think originally why you need to heal. It may have nothing to do with that, but all of a sudden you back in that space of feeling the way that you felt 9 months ago or something like
Hmm.
that. And I think that's an important part of understanding that that's also a part of the healing process
Hmm.
too. That it's not a
Hmm.
straight line,
Hmm.
it's not a straight arrow. So I really like that you brought that forward as
Hmm.
well in terms of this whole process. The other thing that I was thinking about with all of this is that getting onto that path,
Hmm.
I think about this first step, which sometimes can be the most challenging, like with anything. And it could be something basic, like somebody may have a work project, or I remember, still being in school and having to submit a paper. I felt like I spent more time trying to get started. It was like
Hmm.
once I got started, then like I'm gone. So
Yes.
even thinking about the healing process, sometimes it's like it's the just getting started, just
Hmm.
taking your foot and putting it out there to do the step is
Hmm.
really sometimes what takes the most time or is the most challenging. But once you take that step, to your point, the universe is like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna give you this next thing. I'm gonna
Hmm.
show you this next person, this, and do this, that, and the third. And so I was thinking about getting to just that first step. I feel can happen if we begin to really lean into the practice of just
Hmm.
being curious and noticing.
Hmm.
Because sometimes the fear comes around, we're already thinking ahead of time, like, oh, well, if I start this journey, if I get on it, all this bad stuff gonna come up, and then I don't know how I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do, or how I'm gonna feel. But if we can just start with just being curious about, like, I wonder why I'm always thinking that same thought. you
Hmm.
know I'm wondering why, when maybe I'm in a certain space or with a certain person, I always have that same feeling.
Hmm.
Just curious, and not to fix or analyze it, but just to notice.
Hmm.
So to me, these are sort of like those pre um, pre practices on the
Hmm.
way to taking the step.
Hmm.
Just notice, just ask curious questions, and do your best not to attach onto it thinking that, oh, well, I noticed this thought 5 times a day, so now I have to do this, that, and the third. It's like, no, just notice how much it is occurring right now, and do your best to kind of let it go, and then come back again, and it comes
Hmm.
back again, and just do that for a while without touching it. So
Hmm.
I that's kind of like where I wanted to for me kind of end thinking about all of this, because I think that just the idea of healing, it can also be an overwhelming idea. I mean, not idea, but an overwhelming feeling. It can be an intimidating feeling, even though you get benefits from the process. So if
Hmm.
you can kind of just back up and start from that place, my hope is that it can be supportive to people beginning to just stretch their leg out, you know,
Hmm.
lift up the foot to place it down to take that first step. Yeah.
Hmm. I love the way that you put that, and I think I look forward to revisiting this conversation, because something that came up for me is when you're on that journey, the healing journey. Um, I believe that purpose begins to manifest and
Mm.
begins to show, because often many people that I work with, um, they're not sure what their purpose is in life, um, and so they're afraid of the healing because they don't truly see the benefits.
Mhm.
It's interesting about sometimes when you're in a place of pain and suffering, that
Mhm.
you've figured out ways to deal with it, and so you're afraid to step out into that unknown because
Mhm.
you don't know if you can deal with what's coming up.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and this will be my conclusion: is I remember when I was much younger, and I was taught these maladaptive ways of looking at yourself as a man. So, one of the things I was taught was that men don't cry. So I became afraid of crying, because what I was afraid of was that, because there was so much pain that was locked up inside of me, that if I cry, I wouldn't be able to control it.
Mhm.
And I would embarrass myself, or someone would criticize me or something like that and tell me that you don't cry, you're a man. So, interestingly enough, though, when I did get to that point where I did cry, I had a community around me that was supportive, and they hugged me, and they made me feel, in that moment, they made me feel comfort,
Mm.
you know. So, that's what I'm talking about. As you begin to heal, the things that you need will begin
Mhm.
to manifest for you.
Mhm. I agree 100% because that is also similar in my story when I really unknowingly begin the journey. The things came up, and I was in a place where I also was around
Mhm.
community, and it was so helpful and so supportive. So even thinking about our theme for winter around introspection, sometimes it may come across as that this is just solely about like I'm locking everybody
Mhm.
off, going into the cave and just focusing on myself. And yes, I do believe that people may need to have that time to themselves, but understanding the difference between taking the time to yourself so you can just get clear for yourself versus I am shutting people out,
Mhm.
you know, and understanding that even on this journey, yes, it's yours, you own it, like you just shared with your story, very similar to my story.
Mhm.
What was helpful is also having community as you're experiencing these things
Mhm.
individually,
Yes.
having community around you.
Yes. Community is important. It is one of the three important things that is necessary for healing. The three elements of healing, which is belief that healing is possible, the pathway to healing, in a community to heal in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great way to,
Put a button on it.
yeah,
Okay.
nice little bow. Because, like you said, we'll be revisiting a lot of these conversations again.
Hmm.
So, all right, call to action.
Yes.
Hmm. So, my call to action is see how curious you can be today. And curiosity means that it's just wondering, right?
Hmm.
So, we're not trying to solve anything, we're not trying to fix or analyze anything. See how curious you can get about yourself from an introspective place. So, the thoughts that may be repeating, see if you can get curious about them, like when is this happening, why is that happening, and when. Get curious maybe about your physical,
Hmm.
what's going on in the body. Get curious about your emotional, how you're feeling. It could be any area of your health or life, but that's the call to action today. Choose something to be curious about and do your best to just notice it without doing anything else.
All right. So, good people, I want to invite you to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Again, we're so grateful that our community is growing, and we are happy that you've chosen to be a part of this community with us. So, share this particular practice with someone you know who you believe can benefit from, or like, and just send it out to everybody. Send it out to your mailing list if you would like to. Um, we're just so happy to be a part of your journey and for you to be a part of ours.
Mhm. Don't forget to put any questions or comments or
Mhm.
topics that you'd like us to discuss in the comments. Continue to join us, building our community and doing these wonderful practices each and every day as we stay grounded, intentional, and connected.
Ashe.
Ashe.